Steve here with RV to Cycle. I've got one project I'm going to share with you today, and that's how do you get these crazy receptacles out of these RVs. If that interests you, stay tuned. So this is one of the crazy little electrical boxes I was talking about, a receptacle. The receptacle cover is actually, it's just a snap-on, so what you have to do to pull it off when you get ready to take it off is you'll need a regular screwdriver to just kind of slip behind there, and it just slips right off. You can see there's a couple of holes right here. There's one on the other side, and then these tabs on the receptacle cover fit into those holes. That's what keeps it on there. Some of these will have the holes to hold this cover up top and bottom rather than on the side. To get this faceplate off, just find a place where it will go back between the faceplate and the wall, and it comes off pretty simple. We're going to unscrew the two screws. They've got to come out quite a way, so let's do it. The two screws control the tension that these ears place on the receptacle itself. Oh yeah, before you start this project, make sure you've got the power turned off. There it is. I did change work areas here because this guy is just a little bit easier to get to, and frankly, this is the one I'm going to have to swap out anyway. Again, the power's off, and just put a little regular flathead screwdriver beneath one tab, flip it over, do the same on this tab, and then do this one again because it went back. There we go, and it comes off, and that's what we have inside. Those wires, they just press down in here. There's no screws. This is something that makes it easy for the manufacturers to put the electrical system in because these are quick, super quick connections. But they're boogers for us modification folks. They're boogers for us to get the wires out. But I'll show you how to do that. To get these wires out, I'm going to use my electrical pliers. So I will have a link for where you can get you some of these pliers. Actually, I believe there already is a link in our Amazon page. But I'll put a link in this video. So just grab it, move my hand a little bit so you can see what I've got hold of. I've got hold of the ground wire first, and I just pull it out nice and easy. Didn't come all the way, so I'm gonna give it another tug. There it is. Then on the hot, aka the black wire, we're gonna pull it out the same way. And can't tell if it's all the way out or not. Nope, it's halfway out. So you got to put a little oomph on these. There it goes. And now the neutral or the white wire. There we go. Now I'm ready to install a new box. So what we're going to do in this particular project, it's not all about taking these guys out. It's also about putting in a new box. So we're going to put in a rehab box. I'll put that in, and then I'll be putting in a combination USB charge port with the two grounded 3-prong plugs. That'll go into this guy, and we have a faceplate that covers it, and this is a special faceplate. It's designed to look very similar to these, You can see these show no screws on them at all, and that's the way this is. Now we're gonna push this guy back out of the way, the wire. Again, the power has been turned off and I've tested it to make sure that's the case. I'm gonna put the bottom in there, and it is just about 1/16. The hole is about 1/16 of an inch too narrow. So I center the box between the left and the right side of the current receptacle hole. I'm just going to draw a line. Now some people might want to put, depending on what kind of material you're cutting, you might want to put masking tape down first and then mark your hole, mark your lines on the masking tape. But this doesn't splinter very badly at all, so I skipped the masking tape. All right, so here we go. And the hole has been cut, so this is what I cut out of it. Next, we got to clean the mess up. So you can see I got sawdust. One of the nice things about using this rotary cutting tool is it doesn't really make chips, it makes dust. One of the bad things about using this rotary cutting tool is it doesn't leave chips, it makes dust. Well, now the hole is cut, everything fits. Did a dry fit. Our next task is to open up one of these holes, and I like to look around to see which one might be well on its way, because the easier it is on me, the better I like it. And there we go. Ta-da! It's that simple. Stick the screwdriver in. You can see I've got it all the way in, and then just pry upward. Voila. Reach back in here and get our wire again. And you can see I've got quite a bit to work with, which is a good thing. And I'm going to go ahead and put the box in. It's a snug fit, and that's the way I want it. We'll screw in, literally turning these screws to the right to make them tight. Both the top one and the bottom one. And we just screw them until they bottom out. Once I have the top as well as the bottom tightened up, next thing we're going to focus on is getting our wires ready for our new receptacle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut. You might be able to see that these wires, when I pulled them out, they are scarred up from being inserted into the factory receptacle. That's just the way it works. And so I'm going to cut off this used part, and then I'll restrip the wires, and now we'll trim back the insulation. So I'm going to start back here, and I just kind of score this insulation. I try and go right down the middle and not deep. And then I come in here and I try to go right in the middle, get it cut, and then it should peel right back. Now, sometimes, like this, it doesn't go quite like you have it planned, because I didn't score it quite deeply enough. And sometimes the insulation on one side is thicker than it is on the other. There we go. Now we're going. Once we have the insulation trimmed back, we're going to cut off the excess. You could use scissors with this. I just use my wire cutters. And then this paper is also on here for insulation properties. And it will completely encase the ground wire. And if it doesn't, you got some bad wire in your RV or house. So the next thing we have to do is we have to strip some of the insulation off these wires. So these are 14 gauge, and I know that I need to go back just about that far. And if you're not sure, most of these boxes do have a gauge on them, as does this one. So if you want to, you could just stick your wire down here and say, okay, well, let's go right about there, keep it marked, and then close your strippers around it, rotate them around, and then pull, and there it is. And we're going to do the same thing with this guy. So this particular unit is going to tell me that I put the negative or the neutral or blanc, B-L-A-N-C, or over here it is hot, and I can't read what it says below that, but so the black wire is going to go in here, and tighten it up. Come back over to the other side. Put the white wire in. I'll try and bottom it out, but I want to be able to see a little bit of the copper on this outside, because if all I see is insulation, that tells me I might not have the best connection I could have. If this clamp that holds the wire catches more of the insulation than it does of the wire, you could have a short at some point, and we don't want shorts. At least not electrical shorts. Short pants, Florida? Absolutely. Now I know you can't really see what I'm doing, and I apologize for that. I just don't have a good place to put the camera for this. But it's the same procedure. I'm pushing the ground up around the green terminal. Snug it pretty snug. Now the nice thing about this particular box, I can get that wire shoved right back in there because this thing is full of space. So it makes it much easier to do these final steps of getting the receptacle in the box. Now I've got one of the two screws in place. Screw in. There we go. Now we'll do the other one. I have to shut the door for that because the door is in the way. The next step is to put on the faceplate. This is a two-parter. The base portion of the faceplate indicates top, and here we're going to go ahead and make sure that we get the other side oriented as well. It also says top on it, and the easiest way for me to do that, I'm not sure. I do know these holes will line up a certain way, and one way works better than another, and this is the way it looks like it's going to be. So we have some very small screws that we're going to put in. When I say very small, I mean very small. So if you have a magnetic screwdriver, that would be to your advantage. All right, I got one of them in, and I didn't have to cry very much, but now I'm going to cry because I realize it's not really in. It's stuck in the hole, but it's not screwed into the receptacle yet. And Steve, why are you using your Swiss Army knife? Well, that's because actually I've already done this step, and when I was putting all of the components of the video together to show all you folks, I realized I had not recorded this portion. Or maybe I just forgot to, or I tell you, I gotta confess, I have thought that I was pushing record, and actually, yeah, I pushed the button, but instead of recording, it actually quit recording. All right, so this one is in, and it's tight. The last piece, and we'll be all through, is to make sure this says top on the left, this one says top on the left, and the best way to do it is to put the top on first and then snap. That's it. All right, the final test, or the final step, is to test. So we're gonna plug in this device into the outlet, and we're going to turn on, this is just a little floor fan, and look, we got the power. Next we want to test the USB outlets, and I have the perfect thing for that. So for the USB outlet test, I'm plugging in my USB power meter, and you can see it has illuminated. It's showing 5 volts coming through there. And this particular meter doesn't show the amps until you plug a device into it to actually charge. And unplug, ta-da! Everything works. We're done. Hope you got something out of this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, we ask that you please do so. It helps us out. Thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you again soon.